Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to SPNN Studios and our discussion this afternoon on the African diaspora and the dynamics of that diaspora as it cuts across a broader topic and subject areas such as economic life, family and community, religion, and identity. We have a distinguished panel who wish to opine on this particular issue. And so I'll start on my left.
My name is Pepe Wanasiko, and this topic is very important because as a people, we coexist and we must share our history and talk about the differences and also the similarities in terms of the diaspora. So it's important for us to open that dialogue and talk as a people so we can move forward and improve upon our lives as children of the diaspora.
My name is Adolphus Johnson. I am a social worker, and I'm mentioning that because it has a lot to do with my interest in our relationships as a people. We are part of an African family, and there are some things that are going on in this family that are very good. There are some controversies that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. We deal with it on a national and international basis. So we're here today to talk about our relationship as an African people and as an African family.
My name is Joy Rosalind Lumley. I'm an Afro-Jamaican. I call myself that because I'm an African who was born in Jamaica, who lives in America. And I'm here to promote the dialogue for our unity and our uplift, our love and compassion for each other. And one of my areas of interest is counseling, which I'm going to school in now, and concern about our families and our communication and our stress and all the other things that impact us as an African-descended people.
My name is Ken Wanaku. I'm originally from Cameroon, the English-speaking part of Cameroon. That's controversial too. And I'm interested in this topic because it's quite important because you have a lot of miscommunication between people, and it kind of creates a situation where if I don't know what you're thinking, you don't know what I'm thinking, then there's no way forward. So I think that a forum like this will help to establish some kind of communication, and then we can come to some consensus and then move forward.
Hi everyone, my name is Elena Kondo. I'm originally from Togo. And just like everyone else, I really think this topic is important because our shared identity cannot be understood if we do not share the different pieces of the story we have. So I'm here because I want to hear about others' perspective on what our shared identity is and bring my contribution to what I think our shared identity is.
My name is Vanessa Banu, and I'm from Minneapolis. I'm interested in this topic because I think it's critical for our healing as a people. As I look at the African diaspora, it's absolutely critical that we learn to communicate with one another. So talking is a very natural thing, whether it's through music, speaking, just feeling each other out. I think it's absolutely important that we continue to talk.
My name is Vincent De Lucia. I'm the moderator of today's discussion. And my background is I'm from the United States, New York. My family's from West Indies, Trinidad. And my background is both Spanish and East Indian, which has an impact because of the treatment of these individuals when they arrived in America. I would like to start out with the discussion today with a question about the diaspora. And I thought that would be more apropos. And the question is, do Africans of the diaspora deal with the stress of racism differently than African Americans?
I'd just like to say that we were enslaved. We were certainly not jumping on these ships to come over. And so I do feel that there is a difference in the way Africans from the continent just coming in more so than those of us that have been on this side for some time deal with stress, because I think that living in the belly of the beast is, which is what I call it, that African Americans do, meaning that African Americans are living in the middle of the greatest stress of racism, and so therefore understand it best, so that when Africans who are not going through it so directly as African Americans here, I think it's more difficult and it takes a longer amount of time for them to understand the dynamics of racism. It takes a while to understand it. Living here from I was a little girl, I've grown up in it, so I consider myself also an African American, so I understand it from up through the educational system. So I think it takes a while to understand it.
I get worried when we compare each other's experiences and say someone's is worse or not, just because I simply don't know what it's like to grow up in Jamaica or Haiti or something like that. But from seeing, from having traveled to Brazil and being here in the United States, I feel like we deal with it very differently, but in a very shared way. So the legacy of white supremacy, colonialism, imperialism has hit us all very difficult, whether we're in a majority white population or place, or whether it's predominantly black. And I think the way that trickles down can be very different, but you still see that legacy of supremacy hurting us in one way or another. So I do get a little bit worried when we think maybe, you know, someone's pain might be worse than another. It's just that I just don't know your experience that well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll agree with Vanessa in the sense that I don't know if you can compare, but I think it's different. I mean, based on what Adolfo said, we understand it's different. I mean, I went to a school where we're all black kids in Togo. I mean, that's different from going to a school where you may be all black kids, but in a different neighborhood where you understand that it's quasi-separated. So what I'm trying to say is that although there may be the legacy of colonialism and white exploitation in Africa, the way you confront it on a daily basis is different. So coming to America and facing racism, I mean the injustice of racism, at a personal level, you definitely have to experience the stress and everything. But I think there is the burden of the past experiences. And what I suspect is that growing up in America puts on you a greater burden potentially than growing up in Africa, because the point I'm trying to make is that that experience is not individual on a daily basis in Africa. I'm not claiming it's on a daily basis here, but what I'm trying to say is that the reality of it may be more pervasive here than it will be in Africa. So I definitely think it's different, but I think as you come in an American society, you are as exposed to it as anyone else, and at an individual level, it may matter to just like anyone else. It's just whether or not what the burden of the past is to you. Some Africans fully share the burden, do experience it and understanding, and some don't.
So we can say maybe in summary that look at the history of the African and this diaspora, understanding the parallels where they come together but are different. So some things are tangential in that they come together and touch in terms of experience, and some things are different by the nature of the culture and how people view the racism. The other thing is that the burden is not there on a daily basis in the African context. Burden of being separate, inferior, and different. So you're black, you're among blackness, but the blackness doesn't have any denigration to it. The blackness is just part of the one, and so I think that's an interesting perspective.
I'd like to add something to that also, and I think we hit on it, but we're talking about time periods, and the Africans that are coming later certainly have a different experience because you haven't seen what we have seen in our experience here. You had some different experience in Africa, probably with colonialism, the wars. You heard about the atrocities, torture, etc., by the colonialists and those things that are happening to the people there. But when I was a boy in South Carolina, I remember up until 1960s, my mother would take me to this place and show me this hanging tree where black people were lynched on this tree. So this gives me a different experience than an African coming later. But I think a central theme is, at one point, we all have to deal, I should say, with this thing called racism. And that's the $64 question. That's the thing that hit us all in the face at one period or another. How do we deal with racism, and how do we how do we come together and deal with our differences?